At a family dinner, my sister slapped me and snapped, "You've got 10 minutes to get out of my house." Mom and Dad laughed and even clapped. I smiled, pulled out a file, dropped it on the table, and said, "Then you all only have 5 minutes." There are moments in life that redefine everything you thought you knew about family. For me, it was the chilling sound of my parents applauding as my sister slapped me across the face, a moment that didn't break me, but instead ignited a cold, unwavering resolve. It was the absolute last straw, and the start of a chapter where I finally stopped being the family doormat and became their worst nightmare. This isn't just my story, it's a story of injustice, betrayal, and ultimately, a very satisfying comeuppance. My name is Natalie, I'm 31, and I'm a senior forensic accountant. Basically, I'm paid to sniff out fraud, embezzlement, and financial crimes, meticulously digging through records to find patterns no one else sees. I've been doing this for 8 years, and believe me, these skills would become absolutely vital in uncovering the rot within my own family. To understand all this, you need to understand my family dynamic. My older sister, Madison, who's 32, has always been the golden child. She's married to her college sweetheart, Jake, and they have 2 adorable kids, Emma and Tyler. Madison's a real estate agent, charismatic, outgoing, everything my parents ever wanted in a daughter. She lives in this gorgeous colonial house, drives a BMW, and her social media is a constant highlight reel of their perfect life. Then there's me. I'm quieter, more analytical. I never quite fit the mold, and my parents, Robert and Patricia, never hid their disappointment. "When are you going to settle down, Natalie? Give us more grandkids." As if Madison's 2 weren't enough. The favoritism has been a constant, burning wound my entire life. Madison wanted private college? Paid, no questions asked. I asked for help with state school tuition? Learn responsibility, Natalie. Take out loans. Madison's wedding was a $40,000 extravaganza. My graduation with a CPA certification? Applebee's. I just dealt with it. I built my own life, paid off my loans early, became damn good at my job. I honestly thought I'd found a way to live with our messed up family dynamic. I was so wrong. The real trouble started about a year ago. My parents are retired, living on Social Security and my dad's modest 401k. Suddenly, they were taking expensive vacations, Dad had a new truck, Mom was dripping in jewelry I'd never seen. I brushed it off, thinking maybe Dad's investments had soared. But then Madison started posting from Hawaii, then Cabo, then Europe. Her kids were in designer clothes. Jake, a gym manager for crying out loud, was sporting a Rolex. I'm not naive. Real estate can be lucrative, but Madison deals mostly with starter homes. The math just didn't add up. My suspicions solidified during a quick visit to my parents' house. I overheard my dad on the phone, whispering about monthly transfers and needing to be more careful. He slammed the phone down when he saw me, mumbling something about retirement accounts. That's when I knew. I had to dig. I want to be clear, I didn't hack anything or break any laws. Everything I found was public record, social media, and good old-fashioned observation. It's astonishing what people reveal when they think no one's watching. I started with property records. Madison and Jake's house, $485,000, 3 years ago, with a $150,000 down payment. Jake's salary? Maybe $45,000. Madison's real estate income? Around $65,000. There was no universe where they had that kind of cash lying around. Then, my parents' house. Paid off for years, but 6 months after Madison bought hers, they suddenly took out a $120,000 home equity loan. The timing screamed. Digging deeper, I found a web of LLCs under variations of my family's names: Madison Holdings LLC, Patricia Investment Group, Robert Property Solutions. On their own, not necessarily red flags, but combined with everything else? Concerning. The real aha moment came when I recognized a pattern from my work, a family loan laundering scheme. One family member takes legitimate loans or liquidates assets, then loans that money to others for major purchases. The recipients make minimal or no payments, essentially getting free money, while the original borrower claims tax deductions for bad debt or business losses. It's clever, but if you're structuring it to avoid taxes or hide assets, it's illegal. And if the money came from questionable sources? Hello, money laundering. Then came a family barbecue at Madison's. I almost skipped it, but Mom guilt-tripped me. When I arrived, my jaw nearly hit the newly decked-out backyard. A $15,000 deck, professional outdoor kitchen, and a swimming pool that definitely wasn't cheap. We decided to really invest in our outdoor living space, Madison announced, beaming, while Dad glowed with pride and Mom snapped photos. I was doing mental math: deck, kitchen, pool? At least $80,000. Added to everything else, we were now looking at close to $500,000 in unexplainable lifestyle expenses. I started listening more closely. Jake was talking about buying a boat. Dad chimed in, Jake, it makes sense to structure these purchases through business entities for tax purposes. My forensic accounting alarm bells went off. Dad never owned a business, and he definitely wasn't a tax wizard. Someone was coaching him. Later, I overheard Madison discussing quarterly distributions and proper documentation on the phone. This wasn't real estate agent talk. The pieces were clicking into place, but I needed more. So, I got systematic. Timelines of purchases cross-referenced with income. Every major expense aligned with a loan my parents took out, or a mysterious income spike for Madison. Her European vacation? 2 weeks after my parents took out another $35,000 home equity loan extension. Jake's Rolex? 3 days after Madison posted about a $12,000 bonus payment. I screenshotted everything Madison posted: designer bags, luxury resorts, private school tuition for the kids that wasn't showing up on public tax records. The deeper I dug, the more sophisticated it looked. This wasn't just simple tax evasion, it was a multi-layered scheme. This led me to their financial advisor, Richard Blackwell. His firm specialized in wealth management for small business owners, touting tax optimization. A quick search revealed he'd been sanctioned twice by the SEC for inappropriate recommendations and had complaints about aggressive tax strategies that had been disallowed by the IRS. So, my family wasn't just stupid, they had professional guidance, which made it far more serious. I almost felt bad for them. Almost. But then I remembered years of being dismissed, neglected, and watching them risk everything for Madison while leaving me to struggle alone. The real smoking gun came from the most unexpected source: Emma, Madison's 8-year-old daughter. At a family gathering, she innocently told me, "Mommy says I get to go to the best school because Grandpa and Grandma are helping make me smart." I asked if she liked it. "It's okay," she said, "but it's really expensive." I heard Daddy tell Mommy it costs more than his whole job money. Boom. Private school tuition for both kids was about $30,000 a year. Jake's salary was $45,000. Even with Madison's income, it was impossible. But if my parents were funneling money through those fake LLCs to cover educational expenses? That explained everything. And it added another layer of tax fraud. I went home and, through public school financial filings, found it: tuition for Emma and Tyler Johnson was being paid by Madison Holdings LLC in quarterly installments. That was it. Madison Holdings LLC, a shell company, was paying personal educational expenses while claiming to be a legitimate business. The IRS does not like that. At this point, I had it all: fraudulent business entities, personal expenses paid through business accounts, unreported income, mortgage fraud, tax evasion, potential money laundering. Over 3 years, the total was approaching $400,000, putting it squarely in federal criminal territory. But I still wasn't ready to act. I wanted to be absolutely certain, and honestly, I wanted to see if they'd ever acknowledge how they treated me, ever try to change. So I tested the waters at Mom's birthday dinner. Wow, everyone's doing so well financially, I began carefully. Madison, your business must be booming. Madison preened. Oh, I'm working with a new financial advisor, helping me optimize my business structure. It's amazing what you can accomplish with the right guidance. I pressed, that's wonderful. I've been thinking about expanding my own investment portfolio. Do you think your advisor might have time for me? The temperature dropped. Madison and my parents exchanged glances. Oh, Natalie, Mom said with fake sweetness, Richard doesn't work with smaller accounts. He specializes in people who have already achieved a certain level of success. The dismissal was a punch to the gut. Even when I was asking for help, the kind they'd freely given Madison, I was still beneath them. I see, I said quietly. Maybe when I'm more successful. Dad patted my hand condescendingly. Don't worry, sweetheart. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur like Madison. Your little accounting job is perfectly respectable for someone with your limitations. That was the moment. The exact second I knew there was no redemption for this family. They would never see me as anything more than Madison's less successful little sister. They would never acknowledge their favoritism or treat me with basic respect. So I stopped trying to save them. I stopped hoping. I started focusing on building an ironclad case. I tracked everything. Social media posts, public records, their spending patterns, casual comments dropped at family gatherings. The documentation became almost obsessive. I spent hours reading court documents from similar fraud cases, understanding how prosecutors build these cases, what evidence they needed. I wanted my case to be airtight. One particularly revealing incident happened at Tyler's 6th birthday party. Madison had rented a community center, hired professional entertainers, easily several $1,000s. While helping clean up, I overheard Madison talking to Jake. Did you remember to get a receipt from the party planner? Make it out to Madison Holdings, like Richard said. Jake replied, I still don't get why we can't just pay for our son's party like normal people. Madison's voice sharpened. Because Richard explained that if we're strategic, we can optimize our tax situation. The party was partly a business networking event. I invited several potential clients. I'd been at that party. 20 people, all family and friends. No potential clients. More tax fraud. This also told me Jake was uncomfortable, but complicit. Over the next few weeks, I paid more attention to Jake. He looked stressed when money came up. At another barbecue, he pulled me aside. Natalie, he said nervously, you work with finances. Do you ever worry about living beyond your means? I felt a flicker of sympathy for him. He knew something was wrong, but didn't have the expertise to understand what. I've tried talking to Madison, he continued bitterly, but she says I don't understand business, and your parents keep telling her she's being smart. This conversation revealed another layer. My parents weren't just enablers, they were actively encouraging it. They were probably the ones who'd hooked Madison up with the shady advisor. They were buying vicarious success through Madison, living out their own unfulfilled ambitions. Madison was trapped in an expensive performance of success, and Jake was caught in the middle. The only genuinely successful one in the room? Me. The one they all looked down on. I was building real wealth through honest work, living within my means. But because my success was quiet, they dismissed it as failure. That cemented my resolve. They built their lives on lies. It was time for reality to catch up. I spent weeks finalizing my case. Copies of all public records, chronological. Photographic evidence, detailed financial analyses. I researched federal and state laws, tax evasion, mortgage fraud, money laundering, fraudulent business entities. Each carried serious penalties. The hardest part was waiting for the right moment. I needed maximum impact. A situation where they'd all be present, their arrogance on full display, the contrast between their perceived success and their criminal behavior most stark. Then Madison announced it, a family dinner to celebrate her Agent of the Month award. It's going to be a really special evening, she told me over the phone. Catered by that new upscale place, and I've invited a few of Jake's family members. I want everyone to see how well we're doing. The irony was delicious. She wanted to celebrate her fraudulent success in a house bought with fraudulent loans, using criminally obtained money. And she wanted me there to witness her triumph. I accepted immediately. The night before, I prepared multiple copies of my documentation. One set for my safety deposit box, one for my apartment, and one in the manila folder I'd be carrying with me. I also drafted a resignation letter from my family, not from my job, but a formal document stating I was cutting ties. I wanted to be ready for their inevitable emotional manipulation. As I dressed, I felt a sense of anticipation I hadn't experienced in years. For the first time, I was going to have power in a family interaction. Madison thought she was hosting a celebration of her superiority over me. Instead, she was hosting her own destruction. I walked into Madison's perfect house, and Mom and Dad were already there, exchanging looks with Madison. The dinner started normally. Elaborate meal, Madison gushing about her cooking class, trying to project this image of domestic bliss. I complimented the food, though it tasted like ashes in my mouth. Then Jake started talking about their upcoming vacation to Tuscany. Madison works so hard, he squeezed her hand. She deserves a break. How wonderful, I said carefully. That must be expensive, though. Madison waved dismissively. When you're successful, you find a way to make it work. Some people just have better money management skills than others. The dig was obvious. Dad chuckled, Mom nodded. This wasn't just showing off, it was about putting me in my place. Speaking of money management, Mom said, Natalie, don't you think it's time you thought about your future? That little apartment isn't building equity. My apartment is fine, I replied evenly. I'm building my career and my savings. Not everyone needs a big house to be happy. Madison laughed, a harsh, unkind sound. Career? Natalie, you count other people's money. That's not exactly a career with growth potential. I solve financial crimes, I corrected, my voice steady. I help put criminals in jail and recover stolen assets. It's actually quite fulfilling. If you say so, Madison smirked. But let's be real. When was the last time you did something actually impressive? Something that made Mom and Dad proud? The room went silent. All eyes on me, waiting for my reaction. This was it. Their moment to humiliate me. I'm proud of my work, I said quietly. Dad shook his head. Natalie, we just want you to be successful. Look at Madison. Beautiful home, loving family, thriving business. She's living the American dream. On borrowed money, I blurted, the words escaping before I could stop them. The temperature in the room plummeted. Madison's face went scarlet. Jake shifted uneasily. Excuse me? Madison's voice was dangerously quiet. I should have backed down, apologized, but something in me snapped. Years of favoritism, of being treated like a disappointment, of knowing they'd risked their own home to fund her lifestyle while leaving me to struggle. On borrowed money, I repeated, louder now. This house, those vacations, that jewelry Mom's wearing, it's all funded by loans and financial arrangements that don't exactly match your reported income levels. Madison shot up so fast her chair nearly toppled. How dare you come into my house and accuse me of whatever you're accusing me of? I'm not accusing you, I said, my voice eerily calm. I'm stating facts. Facts? Dad's voice rose. Natalie, you're being inappropriate. Madison works hard for everything she has. Does she, though? I asked. Because from where I sit, it looks like she works hard at spending other people's money. That's when Madison completely lost it. She lunged across the table. Her hand connected with my cheek in a sharp slap that echoed through the dining room. You've got 10 minutes to get out of my house, she snarled, hands balled into fists. 10 minutes, and I'm calling the police for trespassing. I touched my stinging cheek. But instead of upset, I felt free. And then I heard it. My parents, clapping. Actually clapping. Good for you, sweetheart, Mom said approvingly. Some people need to learn when they've crossed the line. Dad nodded vigorously. Natalie, you owe your sister an apology. This jealousy has gone far enough. I looked around the room. Madison, eyes blazing. Mom and Dad, applauding. Jake, uncomfortable, but silent. And I smiled. Not a happy smile, but the smile of someone who had just been given the perfect justification for what she was about to do. Actually, I said, reaching into my purse and pulling out the thick manila folder I'd been carrying. I think you all only have 5 minutes. I slammed the folder down on Madison's expensive dining room table. The room went dead silent. What is that? Madison demanded, but her voice had lost its earlier confidence. I opened the folder and spread out the contents: financial records, bank statements, property documents, photographs, business filings, tax returns, loan applications, and about 50 pages of detailed analysis showing exactly how money had flowed between accounts and entities for the past 3 years. This, I said calmly, is a comprehensive breakdown of what appears to be a multi-year tax evasion and money laundering scheme involving fraudulent business entities, unreported income, and systematic asset hiding designed to avoid federal and state tax obligations. The color drained from Madison's face. Dad actually stumbled backward. Mom's wine glass slipped, shattering on the floor. You're insane, Madison whispered, staring at the papers. Am I? I pulled out a specific document. This is a bank transfer record, $35,000 from Robert and Patricia Johnson to Madison Holdings LLC, dated 6 months ago. Madison Holdings LLC, according to state business records, has never filed tax returns, has no reported business activity, and appears to exist solely as a vehicle for receiving untaxed payments. I pulled out another. And this is a photograph Madison posted on Instagram, showing a check for $25,000 made out to the same LLC, with the caption, "So blessed to have family who believe in my business dreams." Madison Holdings LLC has no business plan, no business license, no employees, and no legitimate business purpose. Jake was actively backing away from the table now. This is harassment, Dad said, his voice trembling. You can't just spy on your family. I didn't spy on anyone, I replied. Everything here came from public records, social media posts, and basic financial analysis. It's amazing what people make available when they think no one is paying attention. I pointed to a thick spreadsheet. Over the past 3 years, I have documented approximately $340,000 in suspicious transfers between various family members, none of which appears to have been properly reported for tax purposes. The pattern suggests systematic tax evasion involving multiple parties across state and federal jurisdictions. Madison sank into her chair. This is just family helping family. There's nothing illegal about parents helping their children. You're right, I agreed. But there is something very illegal about setting up fake businesses to receive untaxed income. Claiming false business deductions, and structuring financial transactions to avoid reporting requirements. I pointed to their loan application. This loan application for your house lists Jake's income as $45,000 and yours as $65,000. Yet you managed a $150,000 down payment. When the bank asked, you claimed it came from business savings from Madison Holdings LLC, which, as we've established, has no reported income or legitimate business purpose. That's mortgage fraud, I continued, conversational. And potential money laundering. The silence was deafening. Finally, Mom found her voice. What do you want, Natalie? She asked, a whimper now. Want? I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. What I wanted was a family who treated me with basic respect and fairness. What I wanted was parents who didn't risk their own home to fund my sister's lifestyle while leaving me to struggle alone. What I wanted was to not be slapped and humiliated at what was supposed to be a family dinner. I stood up, gathering the papers. But since I can't have any of those things, I'll settle for justice. Justice? Madison's voice cracked. Natalie, we're family. You can't seriously be thinking about reporting financial crimes to the appropriate authorities? I shrugged. It's actually my professional obligation. When I become aware of potential tax evasion and fraud, I'm required to report it. Dad stepped forward desperately. Natalie, please, let's talk about this. I'm sure we can work something out. Work something out? I repeated. Like the way you worked out helping me with college? Like the way you worked out treating me with equal respect and love? Like the way you worked out not humiliating me in front of my sister's perfect family? I closed the folder and tucked it back into my purse. Here's what's going to happen. The IRS will receive a complete copy of this analysis, with supporting documentation, within the next 48 hours. Given the amounts involved, I expect a criminal investigation within a few weeks. Madison was crying now, mascara streaking her face. Natalie, please. Think about Emma and Tyler. They're just kids. I did think about them, I replied. I thought about how they're going to learn that actions have consequences. That you can't build a life on lies and stolen money. That their mother isn't the perfect person she pretended to be. I walked toward the door, then turned back one last time. Oh, and Madison, you might want to call your real estate broker. You're probably going to need to sell this house to pay for legal fees and back taxes. I'd suggest pricing it competitively. You're going to need a quick sale. I paused at the door. Mom, Dad, you should probably call your bank about that home equity loan. Once the IRS freezes the assets from the fraudulent transactions, you're going to need to figure out how to make those payments on your actual retirement income. I walked out of that house, and I never looked back. The next 2 days were a blur. I spent hours preparing my report for the IRS, cross-referencing every detail, supporting every conclusion. I also prepared a separate report for the state tax authority. My phone rang constantly, Madison, Mom, Dad, even Jake. I didn't answer any of them. There was nothing left to say. The reports were filed on a Wednesday morning. By Friday afternoon, I received confirmation. Both agencies had accepted my submissions and opened preliminary investigations. That weekend, I treated myself to a nice dinner at an expensive downtown restaurant. I ordered wine I couldn't really afford, and a steak that cost more than my weekly groceries. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt truly at peace. The investigations moved faster than I expected. Within 6 weeks, the IRS issued notices of audit to all 3 of them. Within 3 months, criminal charges were filed. Madison was charged with tax evasion, mortgage fraud, and operating fraudulent business entities. The maximum sentence? 15 years in federal prison. Though her lawyer pushed for a plea deal involving significant fines, restitution, and probably 2 to 3 years in minimum security. Mom and Dad were charged with conspiracy to commit tax evasion and money laundering. As first-time offenders in their 70s, they'd likely get probation, heavy fines, and community service, but they'd have to pay back taxes plus penalties on all the unreported transactions. Jake wasn't charged criminally, but he faced civil penalties for benefiting from the fraudulent mortgage and significant fines. Madison's perfect house, the one my parents' money helped buy, was seized as an asset purchased with proceeds from criminal activity. Madison, Jake, and the kids had to move in with Jake's parents in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment. Mom and Dad lost their house, too. They couldn't make the home equity loan payments once their assets were frozen, and the bank foreclosed within 4 months. They're now living in a senior apartment complex, surviving on Social Security alone. And here's the thing, I don't feel bad about any of it. I gave them chance after chance to treat me with basic respect. I overlooked years of blatant favoritism. I bit my tongue through countless family gatherings where they made me feel small. But when Madison slapped me and my parents clapped, they crossed a line they couldn't uncross. They made it clear I wasn't really family to them. I was just someone they kept around to make Madison look better. So, I gave them exactly what they deserved, the consequences of their own choices. The best part? My career actually benefited. The complexity and thoroughness of my analysis impressed my supervisors. I received a commendation from the IRS, a promotion, and a significant raise. I'm now being considered for a position with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Madison tried to contact me one more time about a month ago. A long email, blaming me for destroying the family, lamenting that Emma and Tyler were asking why they couldn't live in their house anymore. She called me heartless, cruel, saying real family members forgive each other. I deleted it without responding. Madison never understood that respect is earned, not given. She thought being related meant you had to accept whatever treatment she dished out. She was wrong. And that's how I finally closed the chapter on my so-called family. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the forgotten daughter or the scapegoat. I felt strong, capable, and in control. Everything they had tried to deny me, respect, stability, recognition, I had built for myself. Not through lies, not through fraud, but through discipline, hard work, and integrity. Sometimes late at night, I still think back to that dinner. I can still feel the sting of Madison's slap, hear the sound of my parents' applause, and see their smug looks. But now, instead of anger, those memories bring me clarity. That was the moment I stopped waiting for them to see my worth. That was the moment I claimed my power. I've poured myself into my work since then, and it's paid off. The FBI offer is almost finalized, and I'll soon be working on cases that make what my family did look like child's play: corporate embezzlement rings, multi-million-dollar fraud schemes, international money laundering operations. Cases where my skills can make a real difference. And this time I'll be fighting for justice with no emotional baggage holding me back. As for my family, I hear bits and pieces through mutual acquaintances. Madison is still bitter, telling anyone who will listen that I ruined her life. Jake works long hours trying to rebuild their finances, most of his paycheck going to fines and restitution. Mom and Dad keep to themselves now, embarrassed to show their faces. The golden image they spent their lives trying to project has been shattered. And me? I sleep soundly at night because I know I didn't destroy my family. They destroyed themselves. I just refuse to keep covering for them. If there's one lesson I've taken from all of this, it's that family isn't about blood. It's about loyalty, respect, and love. Without those things, you're just strangers with the same last name. And when strangers slap you across the face and clap while you're humiliated, you don't owe them silence. You owe them the truth. That's exactly what I gave them. The truth. The justice they never thought I'd be strong enough to deliver. And the freedom I never thought I'd truly have.